Hi, everyone, and welcome to God's Plan, Your Part, a podcast where our goal is to read the entire Bible in a year, seeking to understand God's plan of redemption while discovering daily and practically your part in it.
All right, welcome back to God's Plan, Your Part. Today we are looking at Exodus 25 to 27. And basically, stick around for the reading, do it for yourself or listen to the audio. But we're looking at how to build the tabernacle, the ark. There's a lot of directions about them. So as we're reading over this, what stuck out to you?
So the thing that stuck out to me was when looking at these different regulations and codes, I guess, if you want to call it that, it reminded me of a very long, lengthy book of instructions that you get with like a really intricate piece of furniture. But what's really cool to me is having learned about these different parts of the tabernacle growing up. It's just really cool to see like the specifications that are laid out for them. The meanings, I guess, behind some of them are going to be probably drawn out a little bit more as we move along. But it's just cool to see like these blueprints of what would be the tabernacle where the Lord's presence or God's presence resides. So that's kind of cool. There's definitely a lot of the same over and over again. But one thing that I did notice is that all of these materials that are needed for all of these objects have been resourced to them through the Egyptians with all the silver and the gold that was given to them on their exodus from Egypt. But they also have access to, I think they said the gold or the goat's hair, I guess, was it hair? Goat's hair. Yeah. In order to be able to make these different garments. So just like really cool to see how a people who were enslaved for so many years actually were resourced so well in order to prepare God's tabernacle where his presence would reside.
Yeah, I think just to pick up on that thread of where his presence will reside, we've talked about this in the past, that originally God lived with Adam in the garden. Then sin separated God from man. We just talked about it the other day when God's presence came down on Sinai, that it was kind of like this makeshift temple kind of situation. Mm-hmm. Now God is creating for himself a way to dwell with his people, to live with his people. So we see them make this Ark of the Covenant where they're going to keep a lot of items. In the reading in the ESV, when it says about the Testament, that is like the 10 Commandments, like the stone 10 Commandments. So far we've called out that there's going to be the stone tablets in there.
The manna.
The manna is going to be in there, and that manna does not go bad, which is really interesting.
Excuse me. They collected, what was it? Was it a jar or 2 jars?
Yeah, it was like a jar full of manna that was supposed to be put before the Testament.
So does it still exist today?
Oh, man. Well, there's a lot of different opinions on that. Some people think
Indiana
it's
Jones.
In Ethiopia or something.
Really? Well, how would it end up there?
It's like a whole rabbit hole you can go down. It's because David evacuated it at one point, and it doesn't ever show up after that, so we don't know where it is. But
stinking David.
It could have been, yeah. Anyway. So the one thing that you'll see is there's definitely significant detail. God is very detailed in what he expects. It is going to be built with that plundered Egyptian stuff. Which is also very cool. God's provision made sure that the people had what they needed to build what he was going to ask them to do. There is this developing theme of priests. You need priests to carry out the sacrifices and the redemption of the people. Jenny had a lot of questions about the mercy seat. The mercy seat is not an actual chair. It's actually the lid, essentially, of the ark. The lid of the ark has the mercy seat on top of it.
Where the cherubs are, or the cherubim.
Now, when a sacrifice would have been performed on behalf of the people, the blood of the lamb would have been spread on the mercy seat, and God says that is where he would meet them. So essentially, God is saying, this is in Exodus 26, God is meeting his people through the blood of the lamb.
So is the ark just constantly in a state of just covered in blood?
It might not be as clean and sparkly as you imagine But what's significant is that God says, I'll meet you on the mercy seat there in the midst of the mercy seat. Essentially what he's saying is like through the sacrifice, I will be with you. That was true of them. It continues to be true of us. Through the sacrifice of Jesus, God is with us. So there's all these crazy allusions to something that is coming in the future. You'll see the bread of the presence. It's kind of a goofy image where there's like 12 loaves of bread that are made, and then they sit on this table before God. That is to show that Israel needs to rely on the Lord for his provision. So they did that with manna. They're doing it with this baked bread. There's 12 loaves for the 12 tribes of Israel. They all depend on the Lord. I do think there's a connection then to how Jesus is going to say in the Lord's Prayer, give us this day our daily bread. Because it connects to that imagery, that religious imagery that they're very used to. So there is, you can literally do a very deep dive study of what's going on in this tabernacle setup, why things are positioned the way they are, why is there a holy place, why is there a holy of holy place. It's really interesting. We're not gonna do a half an hour segment on that today, but you will see it's very detailed. I like how Jenny says it'd be like a very complicated IKEA project. It would probably come with an app that you can just click through step by step by step. But Moses takes the details very seriously. God takes the details very seriously because God is a God of order and he wants things to be done right. So that's the tabernacle. Anything else you noticed, Jenny?
I think it's kind of cool that the ark is becoming like this weird time capsule of Israel's history.
Yeah, if you think about how many times God reminds the people to tell the stories and like teach the kids.
How do they get into it?
You're not really supposed to get into it. It's just in there.
So they don't add anything else?
There is things that get added.
Wait, wasn't Moses' staff part of this?
I think it's Aaron's staff, but there are more things that go into it. But it is like a very serious thing. Like we'll see later on where David orders the ark to be transported in an inappropriate way, and a guy like trips and falls and touches it and dies.
That's a shame.
Well, there's more to it, but we'll get there eventually. But it's a very serious thing, basically.
Well, I think one of the cool things that we can come away from is like your part would maybe just be to like kind of dig into each of these pieces because they do each hold like a unique, specific meaning. As I was just looking here, even just looking at the lampstand, the priests were instructed to keep it burning regularly as a symbolic, a tree, recalling back to the life in Eden. So I think that's kind of cool. So like there's a lot of symbolism in here that just doesn't really make sense if you don't actually look into the context of it.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow. Probably doing some more tabernacle stuff. So we'll see you then. Bye. Exodus 25. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the people of Israel, that they may take for me a contribution. From every man of whose heart moves in him, you shall receive the contribution for me. And this is the contribution that you shall receive from them: gold, silver, and bronze, blue and purple and scarlet yarns, and fine twined linen, goat's hair, tanned ram skins, goat skins, acacia wood, oil for lamps, spices for the anointing oil, and for fragrant incense, onyx stones and stones for setting, for the ephod and for the breastpiece. And let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell in their midst, exactly as I show you concerning the pattern of the tabernacle, and all of its furniture, so you shall make it. They shall make an ark of acacia wood. 2 cubits and a half shall be its length. 1 cubit and a half is its breadth, and 1 cubit and a half its height. You shall overlay it with pure gold, inside and outside shall you overlay it, and it shall make on it a molding of gold around it. You shall cast 4 rings of gold for it, and put them on its 4 feet, 2 rings on the one side of it, and 2 rings on the other side of it. You shall make poles of acacia wood, and overlay them with gold. And you shall put on the poles into the rings on the sides of the ark to carry the ark by them. The poles of the ark shall remain in the rings of the ark. They shall not be taken from it. And you shall put into the ark the testimony that I shall give you. You shall make a mercy seat of pure gold. 2 cubits and a half shall be its length, and 1 cubit and a half its breadth. And you shall make 2 cherubim of gold. Of hammered work shall you make them on the 2 ends of the mercy seat. Make 1 cherubim on one end, and 1 cherub on the other end. Of one piece with the mercy seat you shall make the cherubim on its 2 ends. The cherubim shall be spread out their wings above, overshadowing the mercy seat with their wings. Their faces one to another, toward the mercy seat shall the faces of the cherubim be. And you shall put the mercy seat on top the ark, and in the ark you shall put the testimony that I shall give you. There I will meet with you, and from above the mercy seat, from between the 2 cherubim that are on the ark of the testimony, I will speak with you about all that I give you in the commandment for the people of Israel. You shall make a table of acacia wood. 2 cubits shall be its length, 1 cubit its breadth, and 1 cubit and a half its height. You shall overlay it with pure gold, and make a molding of gold around it. And you shall make a rim around it a handbreadth wide, and a molding of gold around the rim. And you shall make for it 4 rings of gold, and fasten the rings to the 4 corners at its 4 legs. Close to the frame the rings shall lie, as the holders of the poles shall carry the table. You shall make the poles of acacia wood, and overlay them with gold, and the table shall be carried with these. And you shall make its plates and dishes for incense, and its flagons and bowls of which to pour drink offerings, you shall make them of pure gold. And you shall set the bread of the presence on the table before me regularly. You shall make a lampstand of pure gold. The lampstand shall be hammered work. Its base, its stem, its cups, its calyxes, and its flowers should be on one piece with it. And there shall be 6 branches going out of its sides, 3 branches of the lampstand out of one of its sides, and 3 branches of the lampstand out of the other of its sides. 3 cups made like almond blossoms, each with calyx and flower, on one branch, and 3 cups made like almond blossoms, each with calyx and flower on the other branch, so that the 6 branches going out of the lampstand. And on the lampstand itself there shall be 4 cups made like almond blossoms, with their calyxes and flowers, and a calyx of one piece with under each pair of the 6 branches going out from the lampstand. Their calyxes and their branches shall be on one piece with it, the whole of it a single piece of hammered work of pure gold. You shall make 7 lamps for it, and the lamps shall be set up so as to give light on the space in front of it. Its tongs and their trays shall be of pure gold. It shall be made with all these utensils out of a talent of pure gold. And see that you make them after the pattern for them, which is being shown to you on the mountain.
Moreover, you shall make the tabernacle with 10 curtains of fine twined linen and blue and purple and scarlet yarns. You shall make them with cherubim skillfully worked into them. The length of each curtain shall be 28 cubits, and the breadth of each curtain 4 cubits. All the curtains shall be the same size. 5 curtains shall be coupled to one another, and the other 5 curtains shall be coupled to one another. And you shall make loops of blue on the edge of the outermost curtain in the first set. Likewise, you shall make loops on the edge of the outermost curtain in the second set. 50 loops you shall make on the one curtain, and 50 loops you shall make on the edge of the curtain that is in the second set. The loops shall be opposite one another. And you shall make 50 clasps of gold, and couple the curtains one to the other with the clasps, so that the tabernacle may be a single whole. You shall also make the curtains of goat's hair for a tent over the tabernacle. 11 curtains shall you make. The length of each curtain shall be 30 cubits, and the breadth of each curtain 4 cubits. The 11 curtains shall be the same size. You shall couple 5 curtains by themselves, and 6 curtains by themselves, and the 6th curtain you shall double over at the front of the tent. You shall make 50 loops on the edge of the curtain that is outermost in one set, and 50 loops on the edge of the curtain that is outermost in the second set. You shall make 50 clasps of bronze, and put the clasps into the loops, and couple the tent together that it may be a single whole. And the part that remains of the curtains of the tent, the half curtain that remains, shall hang over the back of the tabernacle. And the extra that remains in the length of the curtains, the cubit on the one side and the cubit on the other side, shall hang over the sides of the tabernacle on this side and that side to cover it. And you shall make for the tent a covering of tanned ram skins and a covering of goat skins on top. You shall make upright frames for the tabernacle of acacia wood. 10 cubits shall be the length of the frame, and a cubit of the half of the breadth of each frame. There shall be 2 tenons in each frame for fitting together. So shall you do for all the frames of the tabernacle. You shall make the frames for the tabernacle, 20 frames for the south side, and 40 bases of silver you shall make under the 20 frames, 2 bases under one frame for its 2 tenons, and 2 bases under the next frame for its 2 tenons. And for the second side of the tabernacle, on the north side, 20 frames, and their 40 bases of silver, 2 bases under one frame, and 2 bases under the next frame. And for the rear of the tabernacle, westward, you shall make 6 frames, and you shall make 2 frames for corners of the tabernacle in the rear. They shall be separate beneath, but joined at the top at the first ring. Thus shall it be that with both of them they shall form the 2 corners. And there shall be 8 frames with their bases of silver, 16 bases, 2 bases under one frame, and 2 bases under another frame. You shall make bars of acacia wood, 5 for the frames of the one side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the frames on the other side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the frames of the side of the tabernacle at the rear westward. The middle bar, halfway up the frames, shall run from end to end. You shall overlay the frames with gold, and shall make their rings of gold for the holders for the bars, and you shall overlay the bars with gold. Then you shall erect the tabernacle according to the plan for it that you were shown on the mountain. And you shall make a veil of blue and purple and scarlet yarns and fine twined linen. It shall be made with cherubim skillfully worked into it. And you shall hang it on 4 pillars of acacia overlaid with gold, with hooks of gold on 4 bases of silver. And you shall hang the veil from the clasps, and bring the ark of the testimony in there within the veil. And the veil shall separate for you the holy place from the most holy. You shall put the mercy seat on the ark of the testimony in the most holy place. And you shall set the table outside the veil, and the lampstand on the south side of the tabernacle opposite the table, and you shall put the table on the north side. You shall make a screen for the entrance of the tent, of blue and purple and scarlet yarns and fine twined linen, embroidered with needlework. And you shall make for the screen 5 pillars of acacia, that overlay them with gold. Their hooks shall be of gold, and you shall cast 5 bases of bronze for them.
You shall make the altar of acacia wood 5 cubits long and 5 cubits broad. The altar shall be square, and its height shall be 3 cubits. And you shall make horns on its 4 corners, and the horns shall be of one piece with it, and you shall overlay it with bronze. You shall make pots for it to receive its ashes, and shovels and basins, and forks and fire pans. You shall make all of its utensils of bronze. You shall also make for it a grating, a network of bronze, and on the net you shall make 4 bronze rings in 4 corners. And you shall set it under the ledge of the altar, so that the net extends halfway down the altar. And you shall make poles for the altar, poles of acacia wood, and overlay them with bronze. And the poles shall be put through the rings, so that the poles are on 2 sides of the altar when it's carried. You shall make it hollow with boards, as it has been shown you on the mountain, so it shall be made. You shall make the court of the tabernacle. On the south side of the court there shall be hangings of fine twined linen, and 100 cubits long for one side. Its 20 pillars and their 20 bases shall be of bronze, but the hooks and the pillars and their fillets will be of silver. And likewise for the length on the north side there shall be hangings of 100 cubits long. Its pillars 20 and their bases 20 of bronze, but the hooks of the pillars and their fillets shall be of silver. And for the breadth of the court on the west side there shall be hangings for 50 cubits, with 10 pillars and 10 bases. The breadth of the court on the front on the east shall be made 50 cubits. The hangings for the one side of the gate shall be 15 cubits, with their 3 pillars and 3 bases. On the other side the hanging shall be 15 cubits, with 3 pillars and 3 bases. For the gate of the court there shall be a screen 20 cubits long, of blue and purple and scarlet yarns and fine twined linen, embroidered with needlework. It shall have 4 pillars, with them 4 bases. All the pillars around the court shall be filleted with silver. Their hooks shall be of silver, and their bases of bronze. The length of the court shall be 100 cubits, the breadth 50, and the height 5 cubits, with hangings of fine twined linen and bases of bronze. All the utensils of the tabernacle for every use, and all its pegs and all the pegs of the court shall be of bronze. You shall command the people of Israel that they bring to you pure beaten olive oil for light, that the lamp may be regularly set up to burn. In the tent of meeting outside the veil that is before the testimony, Aaron and his sons shall tend it from evening to morning before the Lord. It shall be a statute forever to be observed throughout their generations by the people of Israel. Thanks so much for listening to God's Plan, Your Part. If anything stuck out to you, if you have any questions, or if you'd like to receive a Bible, you can email us at godsplanyourpart@gmail.com. Also, if you're enjoying the podcast, please consider supporting us through the link in our description. We love that you're on this journey with us, and we hope you have a great day. See you tomorrow.